What's up guys, welcome to Freedive Passion. Today I'm going to talk about stress contractions. I've been doing a series of videos about contractions, the different types of contractions, what causes them, and how to try and prevent them from occurring in your dives. So if you haven't seen the other videos yet, I recommend you go back to the first one, part 1, and watch that so you'll have a little bit more understanding about some of the things that I'm talking about in this video. Stress contractions are caused by anxiety. Now the cause of the anxiety, it varies. It could be because you're approaching a maximum performance, like close to a PB or actually doing a PB. It could be because you're in competition. It could be because your life outside the water has been stressful and you can't reach the same state of relaxation before your dive. It's easy to realize if your contractions are coming from stress because they come at kind of random times. So if it was a CO2 contraction, it's going to come always around the same point in your dive when this CO2 has had enough time to build up. If it's due to pressure, it's always going to be around the same depth. So let's say you've been doing increasing your depth, going towards your PB, and normally you're not getting any contractions on the way down. Let's say you're doing 60 meters, no contractions, and then you're going towards a PB, let's say that's 70 meters, and now you're getting contractions at like 45, 50, 55 meters, something like this. Then you know it's not due to the pressure because you've already been deeper with no contractions. It's not due to the CO2 because you've been deeper with no contractions. So you know it's something else, it's the stress. So if you can relate to this and it sounds like something that happens in your diving, then what I would recommend that you do is drop the depth back again. So again, let's use that example. Let's say 60 meters is comfortable with no contractions. 70 meters, you're starting to get contractions on the way down at places where you shouldn't. Drop the depth back to 60 meters, then slowly add increments of say 2.5 meters. When you start to get contractions again on the way down, stay at that depth until you're no longer getting contractions on the way down. Repeat that depth 3 times. If all 3 times you don't have contractions, then add another 2.5 meters. If you're not getting contractions there, again repeat that 3 times. If you are getting contractions, keep repeating the dive until you can do it with no contractions. Once you can do it with no contractions, you need to do 3 dives to that depth again, 3 in a row with no contractions, and then add again from there. So stress comes from being in a position that you're not comfortable with, or being in a situation that you don't really understand. So the repetitions, they're increasing your level of comfort. After you've done a dive 3 or 4 times in a really nice way, then you really start to believe in yourself, believe you can do the dive. The dive seems to you like less and less of a big deal. And then you should be able to do it in a nice way with no contractions. And you've made like a solid base from which to then progress another step forward from. If the dive wasn't so nice and then you try and step forward again from that not nice dive, then chances are your diving is going to feel worse and worse and worse. Okay, you'll be going deeper, okay, maybe you'll be getting PBs, but the quality of the dive will be greatly reduced. And at some point, you're gonna suffer from this attitude. At some point, you're gonna start like blacking out, swallowing your mouthful, just plateauing in general. If you just put in the time, build up a solid base, and then progress from that base, you're still gonna get PBs. It's gonna take more dives, but most importantly, you're gonna actually enjoy your dives. I mean, like, what's the point in freediving if you're not really enjoying the dives and experiencing the full quality of a dive? Personally, I use stress contractions as one of my ways to gauge if I'm ready to go deeper or not. If I can do the entire descent of a dive with no contractions, the dive's feeling good, I've done a few repetitions, then I'm certain that I can go a little bit deeper. If I'm doing a dive maybe it still feels okay, but I'm getting contractions on the way down, then I know there's still something inside, like deep inside me, which isn't comfortable with the situation I'm putting myself into. It's not comfortable with this number yet. So it's just going to take more repetitions until I build my confidence with that depth. For most people out there, if you're feeling high levels of stress, it's going to cause equalization problems, and that's going to be what limits your depth. But once you master equalization and you learn to control the body, then equalization is no longer going to be what stopped you going down. Then you need to start to be intelligent, have a good control of the ego, and be aware of these subtle little signs which are telling you if you're ready to go deeper or if you're not. I understand what it's like when you're in the middle of a training cycle, you're building up towards a peak performance, you really want to hit a specific number, for instance, and you come up fresh, you've done the dive. It's so easy to say, okay, I'm ready to do a little bit more. But I mean, in freediving, I feel like it's more than a sport because there's so many other lessons that you can learn. And one of these lessons is just learning to pay attention to your ego, learning to control your ego, and understanding that, okay, them next numbers, it's what you want, it's what your ego wants, but it's not necessarily what's best for you when it comes to long-term progression or even just enjoying the activity that you're partaking in. So for this reason, progressing according to stress contractions and whether you get contractions on the descent or not, it's something like fixed. It's something that's, you got them or you didn't get them. If you got them, you don't go deeper. If you didn't get them and you feel good, then you can go a bit deeper. It's something solid, it's something tangible, and it leaves less to, there's less chance of your ego being able to convince you, oh, you're ready. It's less subtle than, for instance, just a slight lack of relaxation, a slight lack of focus at some point in the dive. It's very easy just to kind of forget that after the dive or just ignore it. A contraction, it's much more obvious. You get it or you don't. And then you'll know whether you should progress or not from that point. So that's it for today's video. I hope you all have amazing dives. And until next time, take it easy and dive safe.